friends, and welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing a little bit of verses. I don't know if you're familiar with that show that is on Instagram where they kind of pit one band against the other. I'm going to do a little bit of a verses with dating. And there's a difference between when you're young and when you're dating and when you're older and you are dating. So we're going to call this dating in your 20s versus dating in midlife. I get a lot of women that come to me that are either newly divorced or they find themselves out there on the market again. And you just don't know what can happen to you in life. And so my heart breaks a little bit for anyone that has been in a relationship with someone and thought they were going to go all the way to the end of the road together, and then they find out that that just isn't the case. It's devastating. And so I get a lot of people that come to me and ask me for advice, or I get a lot of people who are in relationships that I know just aren't serving them. And I have some advice to offer anyone who finds themselves in midlife and they are dating. Now, when you're a younger person, you kind of have a little bit of time to spend with the person and get to know them, and you get to know their families and all of that. You got time. You can take 5-7 years during that process. But when you're 65, 7 years getting to know a man is a long time. And so that would make you 72 by the time you figured out that this person was the one for you. And at our age, you just don't have that kind of time. So here's what I recommend. When you are in the situation where you find yourself looking for a life partner, I think you want to come to the table from the perspective of, is this a person that I can build a life with? And when you're in your 20s, things that matter to you are how much money do they have? How do they look? Do we have the same interest? How does he dress? Those kinds of things are important when you find a person and you're in your 20s. But when you are in midlife, those kinds of things don't matter. Things that matter in midlife are things like character, like, how does he treat his family, his children, his mother? How does he treat strangers? What is his philosophy about world issues, about things like politics? You want to start having those kinds of conversations, and you want to start having them early on. So I kind of ascribe to this principle called alignment. And by alignment, I simply mean that you want to find a person that shares your same goals, your same interests, your same life principles, your same levels of morality or your values. You want to make sure that those things are lining up, and you want to do it as soon as possible. It's not a time to be shy. When you're in midlife, the dating process needs to move fast, and you don't want to rush. You don't want to jump into a situation with someone and find out they're not the person for you. But at the same time, you don't want to waste 2 and 3 and 4 years only to find out that that person just wasn't who you were meant to spend the rest of your life with. So start having deep conversations early, and you're listening. You're listening for what matters to the person. You're listening for what his life goals are. You're listening for his heart and how he feels about larger issues, issues that are facing the world. Is he a humanitarian? Does he care? You want to know those things up front, because as he cares and demonstrates love for the world and other people, it's going to be real easy for him to care and demonstrate love for you. So My advice would be to get in there, get to know the person early, and as soon as you see red flags, you want to get out of it. You don't want to waste time with a person 5, 6 years only to find out that they weren't for you, and you knew that almost at the very beginning. And I had a situation where I was coaching someone and that happened to them. They didn't listen to that still small voice at the beginning that told them, get out of this, don't proceed, red flag, red flag. And it was a person that was older, and they got caught up in a situation where after some years had passed, they figured out that the relationship was going nowhere. And so they were older, and they found themselves in a situation where they had to start the dating process over again. And so you can avoid that by listening early on and making sure that that person is aligned with your values, and that you share the same interests, the same views and approaches to the world. You can listen for that. And here's another piece of advice that I would give you. Your intuition always knows, right? So when you're with this person, we're not talking about that he makes me laugh, he makes me feel good, he's fine and all that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about underneath all the chatter, the still small voice is speaking to you. What is it saying to you about this guy? Is it saying that he is good and that he is solid and that he is trustworthy, that he is someone that you can depend on for the rest of your life? Or is that inner voice saying, yeah, there's some things about this guy that I'm just not certain about. I don't know if he is the person that I should spend the rest of my life with. And you have to get quiet, and you have to be willing to hear that. Sometimes as women, we get caught up and we want a man to be the one so badly that we ignore that voice that is speaking to us and that is telling us that he's not the one. So I hope you find that beneficial. Again, you're listening, you're asking questions, and you're coming to a conclusion rather quickly. And that's different from making a rash decision. We're not talking about making a rash decision. We're talking about having a set of criteria that you're listening for. How does he treat other people? What are his world views? Is he loving? Is he kind? Is he caring? What's his character like? What are his values? Have those deep conversations early on and come to a conclusion of whether or not this guy is the one for you. And second to that, always trust your gut. It is speaking to you 24/7 about every move that you're making, and it's definitely speaking to you about your choice in a mate.